This is Smart Poker Study episode 185, answering your questions about understanding HUD statistics, recognizing tilt, and picking up on live actions. In last week's episode number 184, I discussed bread and butter situations, the most profitable poker situation you can put yourself in. It's poker study time, y'all! Thank you so much for joining me for another little episode of this little show of mine. I do appreciate it. You know what I really appreciate is y'all telling a friend about the podcast, sharing the show on the social medias, on the Twitters, on the Facebooks, joining the Facebook discussion group, all that jazz. Thank you so very much. And I want to give a humongo thank you to my newest Patreon supporter. Her name is Kathy Bingman. She decided to throw her support my way just a couple days ago, and I'm super appreciative of it. It's thanks to people like Kathy and everyone else on Patreon that keeps me keeping on. Your support shows me that you enjoy the show and that you want me to podcasting for the rest of my days, I guess. So to start your own support of the show, go to patreon.com/smartpokerstudy. That's patreon.com/smartpokerstudy. There are different levels of support with different rewards attached to each. And the May rewards are coming out in just about 2 weeks' time or so. I've got a brand new podcast and a brand new training video coming out then. Kathy is going to have access to them, of course, when they do come out in a couple weeks. And she, of course, along with everybody else who supports on Patreon, they have access to my patron-only archive of content. There's like 19 other videos and a special podcast that you can only get there. So thank you very much, Kathy. Thank you everyone else for supporting me. And if you'd like to support, once again, patreon.com/smartpokerstudy. All right, let's get to the cues because I got some A's to throw your way. We have 3 questions from Michelle, David, and Paul today. So please visit the show notes page for everything I discuss, along with screenshots and links at www.smartpokerstudy.com/pod185. And I've got to say, you're really going to want to go to the show notes again, just like last time, because there is a special video there that dives deep into figuring out HUD statistics for yourself. And this is in response to Michelle's question. In just a minute, I'll answer Michelle's question. So we'll get to that soon. But in the video, it's actually a 28-minute video. It's a little bit longer than I thought it was going to be. But I show you in detail how I dive into statistics, how I figure out what different percentages mean. And then I actually, put the percentages in ranges, like a low range, a mid range, and a high range. Or you could think of it as like a really tight range, an average player's range, and then the very loose player's range. So please check that out. I use Flopzilla, Poker Tracker 4, as well as Excel to keep track of everything that I show you. So that video, once again, can be found in the show notes, smartpokerstudy.com/pod185. Let's do this! Gambate!
This is damn exciting stuff.
Alrighty, question number 1, like I said, comes to us from Michelle, and it's about understanding HUD statistics. Here's her question. Hi, Sky. Was wondering if you could go into the stats more and what they mean in the HUD I bought. Anything would be useful. I've watched the video that came with the HUD. Thanks in advance, Michelle. Alrighty, so the HUD that Michelle's talking about is my smart HUD. And if you go to the show notes page, you can see a screenshot of it. But within the HUD, I have 16 different statistics to look at. Things like VPIP, PFR, CBET, raise first in, 3-bet, all that kind of stuff. You know, the most important statistics that you need. So she had a question about that. It sounds to me like Michelle might not really understand HUD stats too well. Maybe she doesn't have a ton of experience with them. Well, the first part to understanding HUD stats is, of course, the definition for the stat. So for example, VPIP. If you go to Poker Tracker 4, or even if you just Google what is VPIP, you know, something will come up with a description. In Poker Tracker 4, in the configure and then the statistics menu, you can find definitions and formulas for every single stat. So VPIP, for example, the definition is the percentage of the time that a player voluntarily contributed money to the pot, given that he had a chance to do so. So that's a nice and simple definition right there. Also, within that same page in the statistics menu, it gives you the formula for the statistics. So VPIP, the formula, number of times the player put money in the pot, divided by the number of hands played, minus the number of walks. And of course, it subtracts walks because A walk is when you're in the big blind, everybody folds to you and you take down the pot. Well, you didn't have the chance to VPIP, so that's not going to be counted as a hand in the VPIP formula. So those are the very first two things you need to know to understand any given stat, right? The definition and the formula. The next part, most statistics are percentages, and percentages are just parts of a whole. And so it's always out of 100. 100% is the whole. If I tell you a player c-bets on the flop 30% of the time, that means they c-bet 30 out of every 100 opportunities to c-bet. So the whole in this instance is 100, just their chances to make the c-bet. Now, a lot of the stats that we look at, VPIP, PFR, 3-bet, raise first in, those are all percentages of a 1326 combination, which is the whole. Now, 1326 is every single type of hand that you can be dealt. You could be dealt pocket aces 6 different ways. You could be dealt king 4 suited 4 ways. You could be dealt 8-9 offsuit 12 different ways. If you add up all the different whole card possible combinations, you've got 1326. So if somebody's VPIP is 30%, they are VPIPing 30% of the 1326 combos. And the stats can also give you percentages of what you're doing, the frequency of your actions. So, for example, if a player open raises in the cutoff 20% of the time, they have 266 combos in their range. That is the whole, right? They raise first in, 266 combos. Now, if they face a 3-bet, they have 3 options. They can raise and then fold. They raise and then they call the 3-bet. Or they raise, then they 4-bet versus the 3-bet. Those 3 options that they have add up to 100% of their total actions. So if they raise and they fold to 3-bet 49% of the time, and they raise and they call 38% of the time, then the remainder, the 13%, they raise and they 4-bet that 13%. So those are 2 different ways that we can look at percentages of these various stats right there. As a percentage of all the hands available to them, and as a percentage of their possible actions. Now, if you watch the video, you're going to see me, I'll be showing you with Flopzilla all that stuff I just discussed, and I'll be showing you how I came up with this next part. I'm going to talk about just one more statistic, and that's VPIP. Now, a low VPIP percentage is between 0 and 15%. This is what you would consider a nit, somebody who just doesn't play that many hands. A medium VPIP percentage is between 15 and about 32%. Now, these are your tagged aggressive players, maybe your nits, sometimes your loose aggressives as well can be on this, can be closer to the 30% range. And anything over 32%, those are your very active players. Those are your loose aggressives, your maniacs, and your whales. Now, I didn't come up with those numbers, 0 to 15, 15 to 32, 32 or greater. I didn't just pull them out of my butt. I used Flopzilla, took a look at the various hands within these ranges to determine what is a low, what is a medium, and what is a high range. So please check out that video. Once again, smartpokerstudy.com/pod185 to see that video. So I'm going to end this part of the question here. Thank you so much, Michelle. But like I said, the video's 28 minutes long, so there's a lot more I cover there. Check it out. Alrighty, we're on to question number 2 from David Gerardo, and this is about recognizing tilt. Here's his question. I would like to have more tools to know when to stop a session if I'm on tilt. In the mental game of poker, he explains very well all the different kinds of tilt, but I'm having problems in realizing and recognizing that I should stop. Also, sometimes it's hard for me to keep positive in downswings. Alrighty, well, thank you very much for that question, David. So the first question I have for you is, how do you currently recognize when you're tilting? Do you realize you're tilting off your stack with large bluffs, maybe big 3-bets and bad calls, or you're shoving at inopportune times? Do you recognize that when it's happening? Or is it only after the fact when you're forced to rebuy in? Or is it the next day after you've had time to cool down? If it's after the fact, that's going to make it a little bit tougher, but not impossible. If you can recognize it kind of in the moment, that's a little bit easier, but I'm going to help you with this. So here are 2 questions I want you to answer. Write your answers down on paper, please. Number 1, what are the 3 most likely things that lead to tilt? Maybe it's getting sucked out on, your bluffs aren't working, you're losing to a weaker player, or something else entirely. And the second question, when you tilt, what does it look like? Maybe you call down every hand, maybe you get too bluffy pre-flop, you start just button clicking without thinking, or you spew your chips with bluffs post-flop. So once you know what sets you off and how your tilt manifests itself, you can start making plans to deal with it. So this is what you're going to do. Before every session, refresh yourself on what puts you on tilt and how you act when tilting. This is kind of your warm-up pre-session, and I want you to make this commitment right here. I will notice my rising emotions this session, and if I can't get them under control, I will end my session early because I know how damaging tilt is to my bankroll and my sanity. So that's your goal in the next few sessions that you play, to notice those rising emotions and leave the table if necessary if you cannot get them under control. To help you get them under control, when emotions start to take over, force yourself to get up and get away from the table for 5 minutes or so. Do some push-ups, go to the restroom, drink some water. I know that you have read The Mental Game of Poker, and everyone else out there, if you haven't read it yet, like David did, please pick it up. It's a really good book. So go back to The Mental Game of Poker. Pick some of Tendler's logic statements and keep them with you. Write them down, put them in your Evernote, whatever you need to do, attach them to a monitor on your desk. During the break, during that 5-minute break, read any pertinent logic statements and think about them. Realize how true they are and that the thing that's putting you on tilt is part of the game. You signed up for the good, the bad, and the ugly when you became a poker player, and this tilting situation is just part of that. It does you no good to get angry over it and lose additional chips. Are you really going to react this way every time something bad happens? Every time this particular bad thing happens? If so, plan on tilting away stack after stack for the rest of your poker career. And David, you had also asked about downswings. And regarding downswings, you've got to do what you can to work through them. Don't get bummed out and just blame variance or your bad opponents or just bad luck or the cards or the dealers. It's always your fault. Anything bad that happens falls on you. That's why I keep studying to get better. Variance doesn't matter. Downswings don't matter because, if you say, yep, I'm losing due to variance, due to bad luck, due to the dealers, then that doesn't help in any way. If it's variance's fault, you're not motivated to improve. Look inwards and blame yourself for all bad things, poker and non-poker. If something bad happens to you, it's your fault. Now that it's your fault, what can you do to improve it? What can you do to make yourself better? Keep studying and look for areas of weakness to improve. Today's podcast is brought to you by Audible. Get a free audiobook download and a free 30-day trial at audibletrial.com/smartpokerstudy. They have over 180,000 titles to choose from for your iPhone, Kindle, Android, or MP3 player. And of course, they have both of my books, How to Study Poker Volumes 1 and Volume 2. And if you're looking for something outside of poker, I listened to Artemis, and that was read by Rosario Dawson, and it was just incredible. She does a great job. It's an awesome, I guess kind of sci-fi because they're up in space and stuff, but it's more like just a really fun story about this moon colony and one particular individual up there. Her name is Jazz, and she has kind of a menial job. She's making some money, but she makes extra money on the side by being a smuggler. She brings in booze and cigars and illicit materials into the moon for some of her patrons, and she just goes on a pretty cool adventure. I don't want to spoil it or anything, but it's really fun stuff, and Rosario Dawson is a killer narrator. Pick up Artemis. And just some real quick shout outs today. Alex Fitzgerald, he is currently selling a lot of his different products, and I became an affiliate for it. So I sent out a message to all the newsletter subscribers, and Ken Nielsen, Dave Knobloch, Lance Cum, and Tom, they all decided to purchase some of Alex's products through my affiliate. So by doing so, they supported me. I really do appreciate you guys. And, those products that you purchased, whether it was the Master Tournament Poker or the Master Post-Flop Poker, or Master the Flop, I mean to say. I really hope you guys get a ton out of it, and I think they're both really good programs, and I really do thank you, and I appreciate your support. Alrighty, back to the questions, poker people. So question 3 today is about picking up on live actions, and this came in from Paul Jewell. He says, I play live 1-2 cash recreationally. I believe I need to assess my opponent's betting patterns and tendencies quicker than I do now. All right, well, thank you very much for that email, Paul. Now, admittedly, I don't play a ton of live poker, whether cash or MTTs. But, I do know a little bit from my experience out there playing the live game. So reading into your opponent's actions, it really is a critical aspect of just, making positive EV decisions. And like you said in your email, wanting to do it quicker. Yeah, doing it quickly comes with practice, and it comes with preparing before the session. So here's your 4-step process for this. Step 1, know who you're up against. Tight players, loose aggressives, fish, maniacs, and nits, they all play differently pre and post flop. So you want to spend some time understanding how each of these player types, how they play in general. Now that's going to allow you to read more information from the next 2 items. So number 2, assign a pre-flop range, then assess their post-flop decisions based on the range. So if they called pre-flop and they love seeing flops, they've got an incredibly wide range that can hit lots of draws and marginal hands on the flop. If they raise pre-flop, whether it's a 2-bet or a 3-bet, are they doing so with only good hands, or are they capable of throwing them some weak bluffs and stuff right there? You want to base their range on their pre-flop action and their bet sizing, of course, and then judge how well that range interacts with the flop. And the third part of this, you want to pay attention to aggressive versus passive plays. Of course, betting and raising are the aggressive plays, and calling and checking are passive. So think about your current opponent that you're up against. Is this opponent capable of bluffing with bets? How about for bluffing with raises? Lots of live players at the lower stakes, they only raise with strong hands and draws, but not all of them. Some of them like to raise with every single nut flush draw that they might have. They might raise with every second pair just to quote unquote test the waters. You need to pay attention to the players or the player that you're up against and what aggression means or passivity means when they employ it. And the fourth part is bet sizing. Now, this is actually a very important part. It could have been number 1 on the list right here. Maybe number 2 right after know who you're up against. But when it comes to bet sizing, pre-flop, you want to look at the size in dollars. Post-flop, look at their sizing in terms of the pot. Half pot, 3/4 pot, etc. In general, the larger the bet, the more they like their hand, or they're trying to discourage action. So they're doing some kind of bluffing or maybe blocking bets, Also, make note of the sizes that your opponents use with various pre-flop and post-flop hand strengths. So you said you want to assess their actions much quicker than you do, right? And I told you it's going to take practice and being prepared. So you're going to have to practice those 4 steps over and over again as you play. Be intently focused on it and go through those 4 steps, put them in your Evernote, and for every hand played, right before the hand is dealt, look at those 4 steps and then practice those 4 steps as you play. Now, when it comes to being prepared, you've got to keep track of the players that you play with in an Evernote or some kind of file on your phone. You can make notes, for example, like Bob plays all but nut flush draws passively, and Susie does not pot control with any top pair hand and can go to the felt with it. So when you're on the wait list and you look at the table that you're going to be sat at and you see Bob and Susie there, take out those notes and read the whatever that you've written about them and start to formulate a plan on how you can play against them and exploit their tendencies when you finally get to the felt with them. Also, make sure to pay attention to every showdown and make it a goal of learning something from each each showdown hand that you witness and add something to your expanding Evernote. It could be as simple as John 3-bet with 7-6 suited from the big blind. All right, thanks for that question, Paul. I appreciate it. So, the last thing I want to talk about today is my 2018 Smarter Goals progress. So, at the end of every month, I release an episode and I want to talk about my goals because I really feel that it's important to, for my own sake, continually thinking about these goals and putting them out there for you guys. It kind of gives me some accountability. If I just start talking or stop talking about my goals, it's going to feel like, geez, Sky's a quitter. But no, I ain't no quitter. Okay, so goal number 1 was about the Smart Poker Study brand. Here's the goal. Publish all 3 volumes of my Dominoes of Poker books. Volume 1 by the end of April, Volume 2 in July, and Volume 3 in October. And so this is very meaningful still. And Oh man, I'm so close to being done. The book will be published in the coming 2 weeks. I feel like a dummy how I keep postponing it, but I'm editing like mad and making the book better and better. And I'm spending a ton of time on the 3-bit section. Let me tell you, it's taken forever to get this just right, to cover all the information I want to cover, but to do it succinctly and in a way that everybody can just read it, understand it, and start, applying it to their games. So there's going to be more information on the book soon as it's released, and I'm going to pre-release it to my audience before it goes out to Amazon. So I'll let you know how to get in on that. So goal number 2 was about poker play. Here was the goal. Move up from 25 NL to 50 NL by June 1st, then up to 100 NL by October 1st, while following a 40x bankroll rule. Now, this is still meaningful to me, but let me tell you, with the books, with all the editing that I'm doing, and now that I'm definitely going to be going to the WSOP this year, in June, I'm going to be studying and preparing for that, preparing my live play, going out and spending some time playing live tournaments. My cash game play took a serious hit this past month. So in April, I was negative $26.81, and that was at a negative 1.6 big blinds per 100 hands. But I only played 6,746 hands. It just wasn't much at all. I'm spending way more time than I thought I would editing the book. So of course I got to drop something. I can't drop family time or exercise time or whatever, or not whatever, but other things. Poker play is the first thing that drops. But here's the thing, it's interesting. Because I'm going to be doing some tournaments, I played a couple MTTs online. My results are I'm up $39 in MTTs, down 26 in cash. So I'm up a little bit, for the month of April. But so far for year-to-date numbers for cash games, positive $180.92, positive 1.99 big blinds per 100 hands, and I played 36,303 hands. After 4 months, that's only 9,000 hands per month. It's really not much, but playing, like I said, is secondary. There's so many other more important things for me right now. So, and looking at May, it's not going to improve much, at least not my cash game play. I know that I will not hit my goal of $2,000 by June 1st to move up to 50 NL, but I'm hoping that, mid-June when I get back from the WSOP and I can start playing again, and hopefully my schedule's under control and whatever, just hopefully I can get back to playing a regular schedule then, and then maybe by October I can hit my $2,000 bankroll 50 NL goal. Now my third goal for this year is my physical health goal. So here it is. Get down to 170 pounds from 180 and complete 3 sets of 10 muscle ups by June 1st. Now, this is totally still meaningful to me. As of May 1st, I weighed 172.3. April 1st, I was 174.4. So it's a loss of 2.1 pounds in the past month. I'm super happy about that. And I am almost able to do the muscle up. I'm approaching the bar with an attitude. I tell myself I'm going to do it. I jump up there, swing forward, grab the bar, swing forward, and then try to swing myself up. And literally the bar is hitting like mid-chest, almost there, just 2 more inches or so. I'll be high enough to where I can pull my stomach over and then do a press up, a basic muscle up. So I am almost there. I think within the next week, I'll be able to do 1. I don't know if I'm going to hit 3 sets of 10 by June 1st like I wanted to, but I'm doing more kettlebell routines, tons of body weight stuff. I'm running more. I'm doing more pull-ups than ever. So I'm getting stronger. My body's getting fitter. I'm losing weight. I will hit the muscle up soon. So, this goal, I'm still really working towards it. Challenge! Here's my challenge to you for this episode. Watch the companion video in the show notes page to see how I analyze statistics and find ranges for low, medium, and high numbers. Choose 5 stats that you want to use more often and repeat my process for each. Record your findings in your poker journal or Excel and review them as your warm-up for each session. Now it's your turn to take action and do something positive for your poker game.
Oh, that's it now. Get out there and be somebody. Go write a book.
So, of course, this episode is not complete until you go to the show notes page at www.smartpokerstudy.com/pod185 for everything I discussed, links to how you can support the show, and, of course, that exclusive companion video for this episode. Thank you so much for listening today. Make sure you enable my Alexa flash briefing skill. Just search for Smart Poker Study in the Amazon store. If you can type the word Smart Poker Study, you can find me on Twitch, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And of course, I love the Q&As and I love answering your questions via email. Send me a question to sky@smartpokerstudy.com. Alrighty, poker people, next week in episode 186, I am going to continue discussing the second poker league of not putting yourself in bread and butter situations. And word of mouth is the best advertising, so thank you very much for sharing the show with other poker people. Your sharing and caring is what helps us grow. Until next time, study smart, play much, and make your next session the best one yet.